Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. A little late video today, guys. So I'm just gonna try to go fast because of the late video. So just a quick introduction. I'm just gonna take 1 minute. So all these trade ideas on all these teachings are from my community or from Twitter or anything I post on YouTube. All our trades, swings, investments are based upon repeatable setups and repeatable system that thousands of traders across the world use consistently. My Ripster cloud system and then my setups. Every day in the morning pre-market, our team, we in the community, we create a game plan. This was the game plan for today. There's a lot of news today, right? So we had earning plays, we had market plays, we had downgrades and upgrades. So we try to differentiate all those news and try to be ready and see what is work. So we try to be ready for whatever the trade triggers based upon our support and resistance. We create that game plan. In addition to that, I also have a strategy which is my day to day three strategy based upon the rules that I implemented or the rules that I teach. So there was bunch of day to day three plays today, and like FSLR, which we will talk about that, CrowdStrike as well, which was already our day to day three setup and which is a big winner for us today. In addition to that, we also provide daily levels for SPY, QQQ, IWM, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta. The traders can use these levels to trade however they want. Today we will talk about some of these levels which were very important for AVGO, SMCI, how those levels worked out. So we'll take a look at those. In addition, we also provide crypto levels to traders so can use these support and resistance pivots with my EMA clouds to trade long or short. You can pause the screen and read how these levels work. But anyways, this is all our morning plan, and based upon this plan, we trade all day. We execute our long and short trades, shares or options, and we trade all day. And I'm usually on voice first few hours of the market open, guiding everybody through our repeatable setups, morning setups, afternoon setups, midday setups, trying to consistently make money, lose less. When we win more, lose less. So that's our motto. That's what we do in Tiny Community. I will show you my time-stamped comments. If I'm on voice, I cannot show that, but rest of it I will show you, and we'll go through all the trades one by one. Today's recap will be a little faster because I have to cover a lot of things. We have to cover impact of S&P 500 addition deletion, cybersecurity sector, solar sector, semiconductor sector. So we will cover all that sector analysis as well in this video. So let's start. So so the first one we're going to discuss is, right, we're not really going to discuss a ticker. We will do a ticker discussion, but the high level, the news, the setup, whenever a stock is added to S&P 500, right? So what happens when a stock is added to S&P 500 or it's taken off from S&P 500? So S&P 500 it's a stock market index which includes the 500 of the largest companies in the stock exchange, and it's once if you are included into S&P 500, that means you are a lot of more funds, a lot more institutions, a lot more retirement funds. All of those will have exposure to your stock. That's a big news for the company. That's a big news for the stock, because not only it just opens more revenue. Of course, it increases the reputation of the company, and it gets exposure to just like the funds, the retirement funds, institutions, and it gets added to the index, right? S&P 500. So that's a big news. And at the same time, if you are removed from S&P 500, that is usually a bad news. It usually might not be that big of a bad news because it's not really that company is doing something fundamentally wrong. It's just that it cannot it's not that its company has done something wrong, but it's just like earlier the company stock had more exposure that might be limited. And so we try to trade these catalysts, right? If stock is added to S&P 500, if it's a good chart, if it's breaking out, we try to long it. We don't never get blinded with the news, but we know that this is a good strong catalyst. And if the stock is being removed from S&P 500 and if it's showing the price action as weak, and we can short it, right? And most of the times we have historical, I have done these trades in the past. Uber, SMCI, when they were added to S&P 500, we had a big nice trades, right? So that's why we had on our watch list bunch of these trades: CrowdStrike, GoDaddy, KKR, KKR. So we had KKR, which was added into S&P, right? Then CMA, which was removed from S&P, and there was ILMN, which was removed from S&P. We focused on few from the long perspective. We really focused on the CrowdStrike. Then we focused on KKR. So you see KKR all day win, right? From the short side, you see this the stock was ILMN. It gave a good short in the morning. After that, it went sideways. Then we had CMA, which was a good short in the morning, but it bounced back, right? So it swiped right back, right? So the CMA short did not work because it's, you see it swiped right back up, and it kind of went flattish, right? So even though it was deleted from S&P 500, it did not go, and we will discuss when we get to that trade. But these are for the setup. So this is why we were focusing on these main news: S&P additions, S&P removals. Bigger focus on the additions than the removals. And these were all our levels. And let's go and look at one by one which were our winners on this setup and which were our losers on this setup. All right, let's start with CrowdStrike. Okay, so CrowdStrike, let's go to CrowdStrike. So what was our plan on CrowdStrike? As I discussed, it was addition to S&P 500, big news. So 364, 366 area was our support. Resistance was 374. So this area was our support, you see here, right? And in the morning candle dipped here, held and started to push. Right away I said long. Right away I told everybody to long it because we have a clear defined risk. Further I wait, further is my risk. So I have to get a position right away because I'm getting this risk right here, so I have like a $3-4 risk. So that's why I said long everybody, and I gave the target of 380. My final target was 385. We almost touched that target, right? You see that? We almost 2 cents short of that target. We almost got to the target. So 380 first target met. Be ready to log some profit. 380 calls went crazy, and then we were hitting, going for our 385 target. That was my final target. So we met our 385 target as well. And once this broke down, I cut my last 385 calls. So you see that trade was defined by, our system was gave us a risk level, EMA clouds, long here at 369. Even if you long 370, you got $10. By end of the day, you got $15. And like if you waited for the amateur move, you waited for this pullback. You see this pullback? That's when I told everybody 3x68, 370 are the dip levels, the risk levels to the dip, or this previous breakout retest can be your level as to long as well. And even that pullback, and it was guided in the community by RGV, gave us a nice push to 385. It was a big win, nice win for me in the morning. I had a really good size on 380 calls, and that's what I was mentioning on the voice. And then I traded 385 calls as well. Really did well on CrowdStrike today, and whole community was all over CrowdStrike. You see that how the whole community was trading CrowdStrike, because this was our, and there was a whole day guidance by Punjabi Pablo, RGV. Everybody in the community was helping each other, and they were, helping everybody to trade those CrowdStrike profit, right? So this was the big day. We were almost done with CrowdStrike first thing in the morning, and Jan did 900%. A lot of traders did really good. Yusuf was already out by 50% right in the morning, and so that was our trade, guys. Beautiful trade, number one trade in the community. And this impacted the whole cybersecurity sector, which I will analyze further, because when something is strong, and it impacts the other stickers, which we will discuss, Zscaler and PANW. So we'll discuss those ideas as well. Let's go to the next name. So next one I'm going to discuss is KKR. So let's look at KKR today. So KKR, what was our plan and what was our level on KKR? So let's go to our game plan here. So let's see. KKR resistance was 106. Support was 104.50. Long over 1/50. Gap fill under. So I clearly gave everybody this analysis. right? So KKR, I was not trading KKR because I was trading CrowdStrike. My focus was there, but the whole community was trading KKR. Great guidance by Honit right in the morning. Honit RGV. So whole community was our trade floor was full of KKR ideas. And once you see KKR broke out of that level that I gave in the pre-market, right, 106. Once that 106 level was cleared, that's it, and then it cleared this level. Then it was an all-day trend. It was a similar setup as CrowdStrike. It held the support level that I gave right here, 104.50, and the resistance pivot was 106, and it held that 104.50, 106, and it pushed all day for a big move, right? We came with the plan, and S&P 500 edition is a big deal. We came with a plan, we hit the plan, and we got nice trade on KKR all day long. You see whole community was trading KKR. Beautiful trade for the community today. So let's go to the next one. So next one was CMA. So this was deleted from S&P 500, and this was supposed to be short under 47.45. We were short, but it hit. I mean, if you were trading the amateur move, it was fine, but after the amateur move, it spiked right back up, right? So you had to exit that short if you took, because this was a low volume play. So that's why I didn't really like it that much, but still I gave it a short. Low ATR, bearish bias, but then it dipped, bounced right back. Once it's right here or it goes consolidate, you just get out, just take a small loss. It's nothing, right? It's like 20-30 cent ATR. I don't really like these names, but it didn't work because of the low ATR, and you get out, take the loss and move on, and because it didn't work. S&P 500 deletion trade, but just good to know how these setups work, where to take the risk, where to short it. Usually short the open, the level, and then if it bounces back, pushes, you see this hammer candle that it's going to bounce, you get out. There was another short in the community today was ILMN. So ILMN was, again, it was deleted from S&P 500, right? It was deleted from S&P 500. So you can see here, removed from S&P 500. If it cannot reclaim 112.50, short bias, right? If it cannot reclaim 112.50, short bias. So you see that ILMN right away started to flush. This is a 10-minute chart. Right away started to flush at the open is from 111 all the way to 17. So there was a good opportunity to short it on the way. If you, again, if you're focused on CrowdStrike, that's fine, but there's definitely to make some money in this first flush, bounce, hit it again, short scalp. That's this trade. Again, this was a low volume, low liquid, not as liquid as CrowdStrike, so I focused on CrowdStrike. But anyways, that was a winning idea in the community. Now we're going to look at NVIDIA and NVIDIA and AMD. So these names were short in the morning, right? So in the morning, it was a short scalp. You see these first two candles, short, right? It faded, AMD faded from 162 to 160. And NVIDIA, this faded from 120 to 117. So you see that, so there was a fade. This was a breakdown. So we were shorting AMD and NVIDIA. So I was also short AMD. So I was also short AMD. So I was also short on AMD. So you see, and Nvidia as well. So was short on Nvidia as well, because when Nvidia tried to push and failed this cloud and broke this pivot levels, if I go back and show you my levels on AMD and Nvidia, you can see that 162.89, 119.44. So all these support levels were breaking down on Nvidia and AMD, right? So the levels that I gave you in the pre-market, so they were all breaking down. And also Morgan Stanley downgrade on AMD, which was on our news play, on our game plan. We had AMD right here, only long if pre-market lows hold 162.80. So definitely there was a short under 162.80 all the way to 161. So that was my guidance, and we did make money. We did make money, but left runners. But then something happened, right? So anyways, the short in the morning, you can pause the screen and see my timestamp guidance. I'm just trying to go a little fast today. Definitely there was a short, right? At the open, definitely was a short. But then something happened. What was that something? That something that happened that I can show you right here was that money started to flow in the semiconductor sector. So this is what happened. Semiconductors started getting money flow. So this started to happen, and we noticed that because I keep track of the market sectors, right? I keep track of markets, my sector analysis, and we knew that the shorts are not going to work, and all the semiconductors were going. ARM, AVGO. AVGO had a news from Game, Dell, Taiwan Semiconductor, SMCI, NVDA. So they all were going. So we knew that it's time to cut the short and get the long. You see, this is 512 curl on NVIDIA, right? So you see that 512, 118 was a buyer. I told everybody at 1020 that 118 is a buyer. Close the last piece short. Look where I closed the short, and after my closing the short, that's a 512 long and nice push. I personally didn't long NVIDIA. I will show you we longed SMCI on this curl, but we managed the risk. I closed the AMD Air, the short as well. So you see that how you use the system, Ripster EMA clouds, and how you track the sector to make sure not only go making money on the longs but managing your shorts if the sector becomes strong. So that's how you have to manage it. Let's see how we made money when we found out the semiconductor sector is pretty strong. All right, so let's look at some names that were strong. Okay, let's see. Semi strong for 943. I told everybody Semi strong, AVGO strong. AVGO was on our game plan. Morgan Stanley overweight 1414, 1425 was its was it the resistance, so that was that. Was the resistance, and AVGO pushed as well in the morning from that breakout. And then Taiwan Semiconductor was there, that was strong on our watch list, and we traded SMCI. I gave everybody long SMCI, bullish cloud pullback for long, and my targets were 790, 795, 800 final target, and we met all the targets because there was flow coming in. All you have to do is the sector is strong, Ripster EMA clouds are turning bullish. You have to watch the pivot levels, you have to find your risk levels, you take the long because the sector was strong. And that's why Nvidia started to push, AMD started to push, and SMCI started to push. So everything was pushing into the on this strength of the sector. That's why we were long SMCI, and people, we were long VGO community, we were long other names. So there were solid trades to do today. So definitely, so those were our semiconductor longs, right? Just so see my guidance on SMCI. A lot of my guidance was on voice. You can see how all the traders are trading SMCI. So they are doing really good. Everybody is killing SMCI long trade because of the semiconductor strength. So the strength in semiconductors. SMCI, I even gave a flag setup in the mid of the day. So this was the flag setup that I told everybody to long it. This is our repeatable 3450 cloud bounce long setup. You long here, your risk is here. You have like what, $4, $5 risk, and you get what back to $10, right? So that was our trades in the morning. So next one I'm going to look at is this one again, First Solar and ENPH. This was a solar sector. So we talked about how cybersecurity was strong. We will talk about a few tickers which are going to come next. But I just want to talk about the solar sector first. So ENPH all day runner, FSLR all day runner. So let's go back. Let's go see what was our plan. So ENPH had an upgrade by HSBC, 166 price target. Levels were 123, 125. No, I told everybody only long if it holds 123, and you can see that ENPH held 123, exactly the level I mentioned, held 123, and then it pushed all day long. Upgrade, clouds are bullish, there's a news, there's a catalyst, and the sector is strong. And then First Solar. So what was First Solar? First Solar again was our day to set up. Here you see the news, 261, 268, the price target increased to 311 by BMO Capital. Catalyst, also our day-to-day 3 setup, over 260, 269, was the first long, and then there was another breakout here over this yesterday's high, 280s. So you can see that. So that was a simple trade on both of them, and it was the sector. The sector is TAN ETF, you track, use this ETF to track solar. So it was strong all day. So that's why there was opportunities on FSLR, there was opportunities on ENPH. You can, from our game plan, you can see there was, and this is what some people are trading something else, some people are trading something else. You see there's an HSBC profit target of 166. So that's why, right? And great ideas, all day winner. Michael was on top of it. Well done by Michael. Great job on the ENPH. And first solar was also great guidance by RGV. Today RGV was on first solar, and you see a lot of community was on first solar this morning, right? So Pelosi accountant and Slaughter. So we trade opportunities. That's what we do. We try to stay on top of everything. You can't trade everything. I can't trade everything. I focus on few plays. But if everybody trades what they like, my job is to teach, to show the setups, to teach, to guide, and to give the opportunities to trade. It's up to you traders in the community and anybody who follow my teachings and my rules, how to make money with that, right? So great example, solar stock strong. So next I'm going to talk about two of our chart ideas. I usually post some ideas in the chart ideas tab. We're going to talk about Zscaler, and then we're going to talk about PANW, right? So mainly we'll focus on PANW. But so yesterday, this morning I had some setups that I gave here. Let's look at PANW. So you see that I went through the charts yesterday. I saw this, rounding bottom right over 50 EMA, trying to push. So I liked PANW. So that's why I gave the idea to everyone. And then I saw Zscaler as well versus 170, reclaiming, getting out of the downtrend channel, reclaiming 50 EMAs. So both of these setups were interested to me. So I gave, posted them in chart ideas. Not only that, right? I just showed you my tweet. That the cybersecurity, maybe I didn't show about the cybersecurity. I can show you right now. So you see that, let's go back here, look here. All right. So I can show you here. So you see that how cybersecurity was strong. Whole cybersecurity sector strong due to CrowdStrike SMP addition. So I even tweeted out that as well, and so that gave us opportunities to long both of those names, Zscaler, PANW, right? And with CrowdStrike. So you see Zscaler pushed to 188. I talked about it 935. By 940, 950, by 950, the stock was hitting 188. And same for PANW. It was an all day long. It's actually a swing now. I gave the setup in the chart ideas, and you can see that initial push, flag, and all day push. So beautiful move on both Zscaler and our PANW, right? So both beautiful push. So opportunities again, right? So as you can see here, let's go back. So you see that how traders were taking the PANW trade, trading. Tony took the PANW versus 300. He probably made a good amount of money by end of the day. So you see that how the setup worked all day. Why? Because sector was strong. That's why you focus on the sector. Let's go to the next one. There's some other trades this morning. For example, there was MRNA. MRNA was a short in the morning. It was from our news play, right? Trade versus 152. 152 was a support. 153 was resistance pivot. Right away, it was bearish, right? I couldn't take it. I was busy in the other trades, but I told everybody short as well. Versus 150 psychological level. 140 was the first target. It hit 143 flag. Broke down. There was a buyer at 144. So that's why you don't chase, you hit the pops. And then I gave warnings to everyone that there's a buyer, so you just have to get out. So it was just a morning short, and then you just get out. So that was a short earlier in the morning. Let's look at DOCU. DOCU, I was looking to short it because it was bearish today. That's why I gave a short idea to everyone, short on the pops. It kind of popped, but then it started to go sideways, right? This is not what I want to see when I'm short something. This is not what I want to see. I want to see lower lows, lower highs, and just keep fading. So when I started to do that, I had some added short, and then went sideways. I just took it off, took a 40-cent loss and moved on. So that was a loser for the community today. So you can clearly see when a short is not working, what is it doing? It's going sideways. Even though if you kind of waited little bit, it did make like low, but this is not what you want to see. It did not get out of the morning range all day. The stock has to go get out of the morning range. That is very important, right? So it's very important for the stock to get out of the morning range to show us that it's going to be some kind of trade. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to talk about is one of our winners from the Friday, and it was MTN. It was a day two setup. 174.15 was a resistance, 172 was a support, and if you see here, right from the 172 support, it's bouncing. Right from 172 support, it's bouncing, and it's again. These are the day 2 day 3 rules that I teach you. I showed you in the free webinar. I teach every day when it's pushing over the clouds. It's a repeatable setup, and this is the long. You long here, your risk is 172, the level I gave, and MTN gave all day long setup, right? Gas Road did MTN, where Orlando did MTN, Classic was on MTN. So, beautiful trade on MTN. It's a repeatable setup in the community on MTN, day 2, day 3 setup. So, because why? Why? Because there's a gap. There's a gap, and when there's a gap, there's an opportunity because the stock can move pretty fast through that gap. So that MTN was a gap long trade, gap fill trade. Day 2, gap fill winner trade. So understand that. There's so many trades ideas today. It's just you need to pick one which you like. I would have gone big size on MTN if I was personally getting it right at the open. Then some other names. So that was MTN trade. So CELH was selling this morning, and couldn't find any news, but we just traded the price action, and I think there was some news that we later found out, but in the pre-market it was just down. I told everybody do not long if 70 fails, right? So that was the plan, and CELH failed 70, and you could short it. The same setup, 70 breaks down, faded to 65. So it broke a big support on the daily chart, which I don't really like, and this is a bear flag here, and it can still fade more. We like the stock long term. It's our long term name that we picked up at 48, still green from there, but I don't plan to add any new additions yet, but it's a good intraday short nevertheless. You could see the fade, beautiful fade all day. Let's quickly look at Gamey. So Gamey was a short today. I told everybody that you can short it. Bearish if keeps failing, can be short scalps. Daily support 25.50, and that was my morning mentions right here, right? So I was mentioning morning here. So this was the bear flag, and it kind of broke that 26 yesterday's lows, and then 25.50 went to 23. So it's clearly bearish today. There was no long, so that's why I gave everybody idea first thing in the morning. Bearish. If keeps failing, can we short scalps? Daily support 25.50. So that was a good trade as well for the community. So let's look at some other trade. I mean, this was just a news trade. When the news hit, this was a trade by our news bot, and the news bot mentioned that Uber loses the appeal on California gig worker status, and I was just on voice, and it broke 50 34.50 EMA, and this was what was interesting on Uber. This was what was interesting. It was breaking this daily 20 and 50 EMAs, and this is the indicator I'm working on. I release it soon, but anyways, it was breaking this. So and we got a timely news alert. We got it really in time. Newsbot pays for like the community membership on its own, because we have the best and fastest news services in the in our community. And I also even tweeted it out, and a lot of traders on my followers kind of did really good on Uber, because it's all about because you just have to, there's a way you have to trade the news. I saw the 50-50 EMA breakdown. That's why I told on the voice that it's a little heavy. And yeah, traders did really good on there. So you see a lot of traders made money. He made 100%. And traders, you have to be fast on these news plays. So my point I'm telling you is that there's always opportunities in the market, but you follow the technicals. So Uber was breaking 34.50, you can risk short it right here. Uber was breaking yesterday's lows, you can short it right here. So that was a nice 69 to 66.60 fade, enough for 40, 50, 100% scalps. But you always size 1/3 or like 1/4 on the news plays. Reason being, sometimes they can swipe on your face if you're trying to short it, and you can lose a lot of money. Plus, it's sometimes you're hitting the market order on news plays, and it's kind of get a little tricky. So always size a little smaller and be fast, in and out, in and out, because these are not like A plus setups. These are just news knee-jerk reactions. Make a judgment call based upon the news and watch the technical levels, and then trade it short or long based upon the news. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.